Hey, Wheel of Time fans, it's Darth checking in again. How are you doing? How you feeling? You enjoying the show so far? I hope so, I really do. So, episode 5 came out. I gave some really quick, immediate impressions. I slept on it. I slept on it again. I watched it again. And now we're back. Let's talk about it in a bit more depth. Yeah? Okay, so... and by the way, I'm not going to spoil anything from the books here, so you're safe. You're safe here. Episode 5 definitely is setting up the latter half of the season. When I first watched it, I was just confused. It didn't feel like it fit quite so well with the other episodes, which have all just been action, 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 run, run, run. And it also did some weird things with, that whole Stepan arc, right? That was, he was very involved in this episode, in the last episode, and it's kind of like a guest appearance. And I felt for the guy, especially on the second time. This episode, I will say, on a second watching, grew on me. I think that I'm still not quite as pleased with it as I was with episode 4. And if I'm being critical, which I don't feel a need to be particularly critical, but since we're here and this is the format of things, I'm gonna offer this up to you. My take that is negative is that I keep going back and watching episodes a second time and going, oh, okay, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That makes more sense, and I'm putting pieces together, right? And when I do, it's consistently better than my first watch through. I don't know if that's because I, as an avid, longtime book fan, am still trying to grow out of the shock of the differences and the different storytelling medium, etc., or if that is the show just being a little tougher to digest on a first viewing. And I said critical but not negative, because I don't think that it's a negative thing if the show has some meat on it. And I especially can't critique it if the bias is mine, but or at least I can't be negative if the bias is mine. I shouldn't. But I do hope that it's not an issue where they're not telling the story quite as cleanly as they want to. I'm still kind of trying to figure out if it's me, if it is them, or if it's just the density of the story. Because I think if it's the density of the story itself, and a great way to figure this out would be to sit down and look at a scene and ask myself, could they do that better? And I haven't quite done that yet. But, I don't know. I get some inkling that it's a combination of the three. I think some things could be told a bit better. I think that other things are just surprising to me, sometimes pleasantly. And then other bits of it are, of course, the third thing there, which is just that it is such a meaty, dense story. And that's great. That gives it a lot of rewatchability. That gives fans a lot to chew on. So yeah, there's that thought tossed out into the void of YouTube. But no, this episode really, really reinforces the Aes Sedai border bond. I feel like they're setting something up for later in the season where maybe Moiraine's gonna die or something like that. I don't know, I just get those vibes. Let me know in the comments if you're getting that same kind of feeling as well. I will say one thing they're doing extraordinarily well. If I was brand new to this, trying to figure out who the Dragon Reborn is, I would be so confused right now. Because it feels like, especially if Moiraine dies, that's going to be our main character in Season 2. And they're doing a great job of developing all these people. And, it just, some a little better than others, honestly. But, it would just be, Oh, it would be harsh to lose Rosamund Pike, I think. She's killing it, y'all. She just is. That said, Daniel Henney is... Sorry about that. Daniel Henney is absolutely the star of this episode. I still feel that I recognize he was supposed to be a mourner and he was supposed to have the grief, etc. 3 screams just felt like a lot. It had a really good emotional resonance, I'll say that. Stepping back from it and watching it again, I was like, he's going through something. Like when him and Moraine are looking at each other, that's the moment that hit me like that. You know, him screaming, not as much. Maybe one of those would have sufficed. 3 feels a little much, but I don't know. It's a neat scene. I wish there weren't like 3 funeral scenes in this episode. Well, one of them's not a funeral scene, it's the ring ceremony, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I love Nynaeve with Rand. I really enjoy Loial as a character, which he's exactly like that in the books. And his voice, he's got that Bumblebee voice. He's like, Randall Thor. I can't do it, but and he just keeps talking in the background whenever other people are doing stuff, which is hilarious. That's definitely part of his character. So I don't know, I'm enjoying him. Maybe they could have gave him some shoes to make him a little taller or something. I would have liked it if he was like a good 7.5 feet tall, but I'm not going to be super nitpicky about that, because we have the character on screen, and if it was a choice between that and not having him, I'll take him. I'm very happy that he's there. So I think, by the way, the CGI looked really good in this episode. I know they didn't have a lot to do, but Tar Valon looks great. Dragonmount looks really cool. The stuff with the White Cloaks was really engaging, I thought. I wasn't 100% sold on the way that Perrin's eyes turned yellow, and I'm still not. I think that, you know, in the books it's more of a gradual transition, so it just kind of happens over time, throughout a number of pages, and here it was like a response to the pain that he was getting. In which case, I wonder why his eyes didn't turn yellow based on the emotional pain of losing his wife, or if he's ever broken an arm or something like... I don't know. That's just different, and it doesn't quite click for me. But the point is that we're moving through some things, and we're getting there, right? And it's just okay. Sometimes we got to get from point A to point B, and here you go, right? And that's not at all a knock on Marcus Rutherford, by the way. His acting is great. Really enjoyed him with Egwene, telling her about how he killed Layla. I thought that was neat. Speaking of great acting, obviously, you know, Egwene's killing it as well. Madeline Madden is doing a fantastic job. But the guy that plays the White Cloak Inquisitor, the guy playing Eamon Valda, oh man, he just has something so sinister about him. That he's wearing sleeveless White Cloak armor, specifically so that he doesn't get bloodstains on his uniform, is... I'm stopped, by the way, pretty much. Yeah. There we go, now I'm back to it. So... yeah, I just really enjoy his character. It is such a in-your-face sort of evil that you can just love hating it, you know? And I will say, I don't know at all, just on the topic of evil that you love to hate, Liandrin. I don't really know what's going on with her character yet. She's playing the game. You can tell she is scheming, she's manipulating. No idea to what point, purpose, or end. But we're getting there. It's what an interesting setup we've got here. I think from this point forward, I'm going to make a separate video on it, but I'm really curious to see, like, I don't want us to get stuck in Tar Valon for too long. I want us to move out of there and keep going with, whatever comes next. Honestly, I don't even know anymore. They're moving so many things around. But I want us to keep pushing forward and get back out to the exploration and the road. It feels like all of our characters are coming back together, which is good. But I don't know what it's going to be that drives us out at this point. What's going to be the force that propels things forward? This episode was very focused on people where they were. I guess Perrin and Egwene need to show up, but with the rest of the crew. And yeah, I'm gonna have to make a separate video on that, because there's a lot set up here. We're gonna meet more characters next episode, that's for sure. Alright, guys, the only other things that I really feel that I need to hit on are just a couple of quick notes on the direction of this episode, and the other one is going to be the cinematography, because I just I talk about music a fair bit on this channel, and the music, by the way, is still on point. It's killer. It's subtle. It's not always in your face, big bombastic hits, but I don't know, I feel like it's really channeling the feel of we're on an adventure, we're on a quest. It's dramatic, it's epic, it's got a lot of stakes, but there's something kind of modern sounding about it. There's something sort of floaty to the music that is very reminiscent of like a modern alt band if they were doing this performance. It's almost a little poppy, so I just like the music. I like where they choose to implement it more heavily. I do want something that's sort of like a bombastic evil theme that just sticks with me, sort of a Lord of the Rings, like the but we haven't met that kind of sinister evil yet, I guess, except for with the Myrddraal and the Trollocs, and this episode didn't have those, so I don't know, I found it a little more cozy. Ooh, Myrddraal in the White Tower would be interesting. I don't think that would happen, but it could be. That'd be neat. Anyways, I said I wasn't going to talk about music, and I go, whoop, talk about music. The cinematography here is great. I know that they had a limited budget, and so they had to build what sets they could, but it feels very consistent and very seamless, transitioning between the CGI and then the sets that they designed for the White Tower and Tar Valon, and looking out into the woods. That did piss me off a little bit when Egwene was like, "Look, Perrin, we're at Tar Valon," and he looks up and there's a giant tower looming over the land. Like, he would have seen that an hour ago. They could have walked up a hill to see it or something. But no, I think that the CGI is really good. It's all those little uses of CGI that you don't even really think about when you think of CG. The graphics for, like, Egwene shooting her fireball, that's in your face, that's CG, you know that. But what about the mountainscape out behind Tar Valon, leading up to the slopes of Dragonmount? I can tell you, that Dragonmount had to be CGI. What you might not recognize is that the clouds, the mountains, the plains, the grass, the river, it all had to be CGI. That's an entirely CG image. That's the way you do that. There's a lot of that's just really high quality, and they do a really good job in this episode of shooting from certain angles that are effective at blending spots where you transition from the CG to the real image. I think about that shot of the sun rising in Tar Valon, and it just looks dark and cold, and then as the light shines through, you see the liveliness of it with people with their their greenery hanging out from their windows and etc. And they've got a stage set up there, because we saw them walking through in an earlier scene. We saw them walking through that part of the town, but that got expanded on with CG, and they do a really good job of setting a lot of that up, and that takes a lot of forethought and planning, and it can inform on what your scene's going to look like. I don't even know how they gave Loial his sausage fingers, by the way. But anyways, I could rant about this all day long. Cinematography and CG are working together really well in this show, is my point. So, y'all, I will see you next time. We're going to have a lot to chat about.